Hello everybody, Disciple here with Overwatch Curios. Now Overwatch is a game full of diverse characters, many of whom have very interesting and powerful movement abilities that allow them to get around the map quickly or position themselves in advantageous or even occasionally unintended places. Now sometimes it can be difficult to deal with how the enemy team has positioned, but Grandmaster players are constantly finding new tricks to give them an edge over their competitors. Now you guys might know some of these tricks, but I can guarantee you if you're below master level, you're not taking full advantage of all of them, so learning these can definitely help improve your play. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some of the cool movement abilities and techniques that you can incorporate into your own gameplay to give you that same competitive edge over your enemies that GM players have. Now Pharah is one of the most powerful heroes in the game at lower ratings. At this point in the game, many players struggle to constantly hit targets in the air, especially at longer ranges. However, most people don't know that Pharah can instantly gain that huge height advantage and cover a ton of ground as soon as the gates open, allowing her to press forward much faster than most other characters. Her concussive jump jet combo is executed by looking at the ground while moving forward. At this point, you fire your concussive blast with E at the same time as you jump and also activate your jump jet with shift. By doing all three of these actions at the same time, you gain huge height and forward momentum, allowing you to press ahead of your team and begin harassing early. Now this mechanic can also be useful for recovering from times when you land as Pharah, whether it was crowd control that knocked you out of the skies, or simply running low on fuel. This will allow you to get right back into the skies instantly without using any of your fuel doing so, and it also makes you really hard to hit in the process. Your fuel also restores during your jump jet, meaning even if you weren't at full fuel when you first concussive jumped, you likely will be by the time you reach the top of your jump. However, many Pharahs don't realize that simply by managing your fuel well, you can actually fly forever. Infinite flying is a trick that a lot of high-level Pharah players abuse to great success, and that a lot of low-level Pharah players don't even know about at all. It's a technique called feathering, where you simply tap your spacebar for a brief second over and over. By doing so, you'll lose minimal altitude and still remain in the air while waiting for the cooldown on jump jet to restore. As soon as jump jet is available again, activate it to regain all of your height again. Remember that during this jump jet, your fuel is going to restore, so wait for your fuel to basically be at full again before you start feathering with the spacebar again. By doing this constantly and using your jump jet the second it becomes available, you'll be able to stay in the skies forever, assuming you don't need to land for any other reason. For the best results, pair this with the concussive jump jet combo we talked about for maximum verticality and the highest vantage point to both rain down destruction on your enemies and also be harder to hit for the enemy team, and you can stay up there for pretty much ever. Now Pharah has a voice line which mentions rocket jumping sounding dangerous, but Soldier 76 doesn't actually care about the repercussions of rocket jumping. GM players will use 76's Helix rocket to literally rocket jump to otherwise unreachable positions, giving him a positional advantage and a better vantage point on the enemy team. If you guys have seen any of our map tricks videos before, then you've definitely seen this in action, but to tell you a little bit more about it, Soldier 76 is a hero that excels when given the high ground. He's able to deal respectable damage at longer ranges, especially in short controlled bursts, meaning using this trick to get up on the higher ground can be really advantageous so that enemies have a harder time hitting you and you have a great field of view, as well as the headshot advantage. On top of that, your healing field can be used to recover the damage from the rocket's impact if needed, but also means that he's fairly self-sustaining in these positions if you get yourself a little out of the way. To rocket jump with Soldier 76, you just have to look down and fire a Helix rocket at your feet at the same time that you press jump. You can even activate sprint while in the air to gain even more momentum if needed, and there are a few jumps where you definitely need that extra shift. However, this technique also works with another hero in the lineup, Zarya. Her alternate fire will give her an almost identical vertical boost as the Helix rocket, although it is a little bit shorter. In fact, this technique can even be paired up with a second right click to gain additional height, but it's really hard to pull off in a real game. By aiming directly up, Zarya's alternate fire will land directly on top of her since it shoots straight up. If you time the impact of the first shot, which will take a few seconds, and activate the second alternate fire and jump just as the first shot hits, you'll get hit by both of your alternate fires at the same time and gain even more height. Now, the double rocket jump is primarily only useful in the setup phase before a match starts due to the time it takes to pull off, but the default rocket jump has a lot of applications that can allow Zarya to get over terrain quicker or even get into unique and unexpected positions to hit those huge graviton surges. One of the best places to do this is on Temple of Anubis. If you're trying to sneak up onto that second point, you can actually go around the wall on the left directly in front of the point by going underneath, by jumping over to the wall and then rocket jumping up over the wall to completely catch your enemies by surprise. Now, Doomfist is a highly mobile character. However, top level Doomfist players are able to move around the map even more effectively than an average player does. Doomfist can do something called a jump punch cancel, where he jumps at the end of a punch. This cancels the effect of the punch, however generates additional momentum and launches him much further on. This jump cancel can allow Doomfist to cover huge amounts of ground to either get back to a fight much faster, or to even get out of a bad spot when he finds himself stranded behind enemy lines. This movement technique also has some weird interaction properties with inclined slopes and edges, which can generate even more momentum. When done incredibly well, Doomfist can cross entire portions of the map almost instantly. However, mastering the usage of this technique will take some practice and creative usage. Now, a lot of players have seen highlight montages of Widowmakers pulling off grappling hook kills, but players at lower levels often don't take advantage of this mechanic like they should. By jumping as you reach the end of a grapple hook, Widowmaker will be propelled even farther into the air, much like the Doomfist trick we just talked about. This technique can give Widowmaker a huge early advantage if she's able to use that momentum to peek the enemy from unexpected angles and land an early headshot in a squishy DPS or support character. The highest level Widowmaker players will use this at the start of matches for early picks, which can open up the match from the very start, allowing their team to press forward with the advantage and resulting in early captures. This momentum can snowball the pacing of a match, all because of one single kill that not only gave the team an advantage, but also looks super stylish. A tip to secure more kills off this is to use your downward momentum to line up the headshot instead of trying to adjust your aim during your fall back down. Focus on the horizontal aim and wait for your fall to line up the headshot for you. Now, while not exactly attached to an ability, ADAD is a term used to describe quick strafing that all top level DPS players utilize, particularly in one-on-one duels. This strafing helps to throw off your enemies as they aim at you. Now, keep in mind that you'll have to adjust your aim with your strafe so that you're not also throwing off your own targeting, but this technique is super effective against other players, especially ones that rely on headshots like Hanzo and Widowmaker. To make the best usage of this, your ADAD strafe spam needs to be inconsistent so that the movement of your character doesn't become predictable in the duel. If you're using this technique against a Widowmaker who's looking for that one kill headshot, you can also throw in some quick crouches in the mix to throw off even more. Oftentimes, if you harass a Widowmaker and she can't hit a shot early, you can force her to reposition before she dies, which can be enough to allow you and your team to press forward even without scoring a kill on her. Now, transformation ultimates, namely Winston's Primal Rage and Genji's Dragon Blade, reset their movement mechanics. This is something that Grandmaster players take advantage of to huge success. For Winston, this can be useful in closing huge distances in overtime to make it back to a point. By jumping into the air and activating Primal Rage, he'll gain another charge of his jump, allowing him to cross the entire map in a matter of seconds. This can also be useful in situations where you've been knocked off the edge of the map and you need all the height you can get to prevent yourself from dying, or in situations where you simply need to stall an objective. For Genji, this allows him to set up his ultimate much more effectively, or even to deal additional damage before the start of his Dragon Blade. Top Genji players will use the dash to close distance to the fight by dashing into the air, then activate Dragon Blade. During this time in the air, they can focus on selecting the first target for their ultimate, like an enemy support, and then immediately dash back down to begin attacking them. Similarly, he can dash straight into the enemy team to deal some damage, activate Dragon Blade, and then dash again to a selected target. Both due to dash and Dragon Blade dealing AoE damage, it can be a great way to open up a team fight, and it's also great when comboed with an ultimate that will hold people together, like a Reinhardt Earthshatter or a Zarya Graviton Surge. Well, alright everybody, that's going to do it for our movement techniques that Grandmaster players use in game that you don't, and that you can add to your own gameplay to hopefully improve it a bit. Hopefully some of these mechanics were new to you guys, and if none of them were, then focus on improving them a bit, because if you're not in Master or Grandmaster yet, you're probably not using them incredibly right. If any of them are difficult for you guys to pick up from just this video, let us know and maybe we'll make a video detailing how to use them a little bit more effectively. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing for future content. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.